Ropp gang, what up? What up? Appreciate everyone. Join the live stream. Do me a favor, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on any new content. I would greatly appreciate that. Man, I don't even know where to start with half of this shit, man. I don't even know where to start. I hope everyone had a good weekend. I really don't like. Here's the thing: we're gonna dive into a Evero. We're gonna look at the rankings, stuff like that. But what's left to say? You know what I mean? Like, this season has been a astronomical disaster, and there's no way of sugarcoating it anymore. Frankly, there's no point in trying to spin this flaming wreck of a team into anything other than what it is, a complete other shit show. And by week 18, column goes live, this miserable excuse of a football team will have hung up their cleats for the last time this year. And I say good riddance, man. I say good riddance because we saw some progression out of Bryce. That's great. Chuba Hubbard had an astronomical year. We saw our rookies step up when needed. Saw some guys develop. Saw some guys that need to definitely work. Definitely have their work cut out for him. But John DeLong, and I saw this quote by him today. He hit the nail on the head in his post-game recap. Actually, it was yesterday, but I saw the quote on Twitter. And he pointed out this brutal truth, which stuck with me today about these final two games. And he basically said that the Panthers are so thin, especially defensively, that what's happening right now is pretty much irrelevant. So many of the players getting snaps aren't going to be on the roster when next season starts. And that's what he said. And that's by Jonathan DeLong. Go look him up. But that's it, though. Like, that's the damn point, man. Like, the Panthers are fielding a lineup, right, that looks more like a JV squad of a mediocre high school football team than an actual NFL roster. Half of these guys won't even sniff the field next year. So why should we even care about what's happening now? Why should we even care? Why should we even care? Right? Because this season has been exhausting. It's been infuriating. Roller coaster for us fans. Like, yeah, we used to be, but, you know, you can say, yeah, we're used to heartbreak. But this is nothing new for sure. But this year was supposed to be at least different, better. I felt like we were promised progress under Dave Canales in his first year as a head coach. We were supposed to get a damn clue about whether Bryce Young was our future quarterback. Instead, we've been forced fed injuries, inconsistencies, the level of mediocrity that's been hard to stomach. Because Young's season has been a freaking mess, let's be honest. 1 week he looks like a future pro bowler. Then the next week he's playing like a guy who accidentally wandered onto the field during halftime. Like, this revolving door of injuries didn't help. It's hard to ignore the fact that this team never gave him a chance to get into any kind of rhythm. Rookies who start the season strong, yeah, they've fallen off a damn cliff. The only silver lining in this shit show, in my opinion, is that the Panthers have lost enough to put themselves in prime position for a top draft pick in 2025. Congratulations. We're finally back in rebuild mode still again. So as for Bryce Young, I've got some thoughts brewing about what to do with him next year. Let's see how he handles the Falcons next week before diving into that mess. For now, I'll just say this. He's shown enough flashes of competence to keep playing somewhere. Whether that somewhere is in Carolina, that's up to Brant Tillis and Dan Morgan to figure that out. And they're getting paid a lot more than I am to make that call. I'll say that. Because next week's game against Atlanta, yeah, it's probably going to be just as ugly as this week's ass kicking by the Buccaneers, but who cares? This team is so far removed from the level of playing we saw earlier in the season against actual contenders like the Chiefs or the Eagles. The run game is dead. The defense, a joke. Honestly, the cast of the Muppet Treasure Island movie, by the way, very underrated by a Muppet movie, might do a better job out there. So why even watch at this point? Because the only reason left to see if Young can launch a few more of those deep bombs at Adam Thielen, and that's it. That's the only thing worth watching, to see if Xavier Legette finally breaks out of his shell and Jalen Coker continues to shine and Jadavion Sanders continues to show growth. Maybe it's something we can build on next year. Or maybe it's just enough to, I don't know, fool another team into trading for him. If you're watching these games for anything else, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. Or worse, just anger. So, again, this season's over, ladies and gentlemen. It's been over. The Panthers want to dig themselves out of this hole. They better figure out real quick who the hell they're going to be next year. Otherwise, we're going to have this same miserable conversation 12 months from now. So welcome to the Ropp Star Report. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Of course, your host is always ClayRopp. And we're going to talk about Ejiro Evero. Should we rebuild with Ejiro Evero? Or should we start with a new defensive coordinator? Now, obviously, y'all heard my rant there, but I had to start it off with a little bit of a rant. Man. Always do. Let's get into the comments real quick. Let's see who we got in here. Panther Gal, didn't David Tepper want the 3-4 defense? Apparently he did. I don't know necessarily if that's exactly true, Panther Gal. There's a lot of narratives behind that. I mean, there was never anything that ever came out of the press. There was just a lot of rumors that was the case. I've never heard that that's exactly true, but it wouldn't surprise me, Panther Gal, if it is. I'll say that. Remember, Eric Washington did a 3-4 in 2019. That's how he lost his job. You're not lying there, Terrence Tate. What do you need to make a 3-4 work? Because some teams can do it. What you need for a 3-4 to work is you need a true nose tackle. That's number one, Panther Gal. You need a true nose tackle to set yourself up in the middle. You also need a versatile elite edge rusher because of the complex scheme that Evero runs, right? I was talking about this on my show the other day. There's definitely a lot that goes into that, right? There's definitely a lot that goes into that when it comes to a Ejiro Evero and fitting this scheme and all that stuff like that. Like you have in a 3-4 scheme, that's those are two things you definitely need. You need a true nose tackle and an elite pass rusher. And on the other side, you could have a guy like a DJ Wanu or a Jadeveon Clowney. But you need a Myles Garrett's of the world or a Max Crosby's of the world. Or you need a like a true nose tackle could have been Sweat out of Texas last year they got. That's a true nose tackle right there. The guy that's in Tennessee. Now, I'm trying to think some Vita Vea is another guy that you would need to fit a 3-4 scheme. Those guys fit the 3-4 scheme for this complex that he runs, right? He runs a complex 3-4 scheme. So what do you need to make it work? You need a true nose tackle and elite edge rushers. And of course, competent linebackers performances. Guys who can fill their gaps, especially in the run game. Disappointing to say the least, Clay. I mean, I kind of expected it. Again, yesterday's game, it wasn't a surprise to me. I thought it was going to be closer. I thought it was going to be competitive from what we've seen, but honestly, it's not a surprise. It's not. Last week I was sad the season was ending. Now I'm glad it's over. That was awful. For sure. 4-3 was always a good fit for the Panthers. Yes. Yes, it was. It should have never changed Terrence State. I can tell you who looks like a genius right now is Phil Snow. Phil Snow looks like an absolute genius compared to Ejiro Evero right now. Well, we double our wins this year. Maybe we can double it next year. Yeah, I mean, 6 wins is not going to cut it next year, at least for me. But I need to see true progression now because we're fans. Yep. Will you care if SC South Carolina is losing Illinois? Absolutely. That's a total different team and a different. I feel like that's a different feeling for me, Rock, compared to this team. But I don't know. Bipolar team. Yeah, this is probably one of the most bipolar franchises. I could in Panther Gal on that 3-4 scheme. I could dive in that. I could make a whole hour live stream to tell you about that 3-4 scheme that Evero runs. I could tell you a lot about it. Dave going to push to make them beat Atlanta to help the Bucks. I mean, yeah, why not? Yeah, I mean, Terrence Tate, you're right. Yeah, I mean, like I'm saying, Steve Wilkes and him look way better than Ejiro Evero. But still, Phil Snow's scheme, I would rather have Phil Snow as my defensive coordinator with that scheme than I would Ejiro Evero right now. But I'm not out on Ejiro Evero just yet and we're going to dive into that. And I kind of alluded to it on a short clip. And I kind of alluded it on the show yesterday, the post game show. But I really wanted to get into it today because I think a lot of people take a lot of misconception from what I say. Here we are 2 years. We still haven't got a true stud wide receiver to help a young quarterback. Deontay was never going to be that. No, he wasn't. Someone said Evero said he didn't need a nose tackle. So why is he doing that? Panther guy, I don't know where you're getting your sources from, but I would love to know who said that and why he said that. But that's just me. You know, that's just me. Again, you got to look at it the 3-4 scheme is crazy, man. This bend don't break shit just doesn't work. But you have to have the talent. I'll say this. The thing that I truly believe in is I do think Ejiro. Let's just get into it. Let me pull up these rankings. That's what I'm working on right now. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor. Make sure you smash that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on any new content. People in the chat on the C3. People in chat in a lot of people's, you know what I mean? A lot of people's streams say a lot of things, man. And not all of it's true. Not all of it's true. But let's talk about Ejiro Evero. So first things first. Let's pull this up real quick. Hold on, I'm trying to find my tab here. Okay. All right, hold on. Give me a second here. Okay. So here's the thing. You look at this right now, right? You guys are looking at Fox Sports. Okay. This is total defense right here. And here's the rankings. Okay. Carolina Panthers are 31st. TDs allowed. They've allowed 50, which is the tied for first in the NFL. It's crazy that the Titans have allowed the most touchdowns, but they are third in total defense. The Panthers are 31st. They've allowed 385 yards a game of total offenses and 50 touchdowns. Okay. Now, appreciate that, Dom. Yeah. Shy total would be a great nose tackle, said no one ever. Right. Exactly. How long Evero going to keep building this defense is getting the same results? Something's got to give. I don't know if it's something that's got to give, right? But when you're looking at this, I mean, the Panthers' total defense, man, 385 yards allowed per game and over 50 touchdowns this season, right? All right. So let's move down to the passing defense. Where are we at in passing defense? Okay, let's go look. Carolina's passing defense is 12th. We only allowed 210 yards and 28 passing touchdowns, which is pretty good. I mean, 12th in passing defense ain't bad, right? I don't know if he said it in a press conference. That would be crazy for him to say that out loud. All right, here's our running defense. We're not even the bottom of the league. Okay, no, this is pass defense. Where's the run defense? We've got to be at the bottom. Yep. The Panthers' run defense is the absolute bottom, and they're not even close to the Giants. Look at this. The Giants allow 142.6 a game. The Panthers allow 175 rushing yards per game. The Giants only allow 142. That is a 33-yard difference. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Now, scoring defense, we are dead last. We allow, again, 29.9 points per game. We've allowed, again, a total of 50 touchdowns this season. Red zone defense. Actually, the red zone defense must not be that half bad. No, it's still bad. 28th. So we allow 65% of our opponents score in the red zone. Okay. Third down defense. The Carolina Panthers are dead last. We allow 47.7% of third downs. Yep, we're last in running defense. God damn. I know we don't have talent, but Evero been here for what, 3 years now? Yep, exactly. He has been. He's been here for 3 years. Yep. He's been here for 3 long years, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the results we're getting. Now, again, you can say it's the talent. You could say it's the talent. But man, oh man. We are, again, this is total defense in general, though, right there. So here's what I got to say about the Ejiro Evero thing. Should the Panthers rebuild with Evero or with a new defensive coordinator? The Carolina again, we understand that this defense right here is an absolute dumpster fire. Again, a flaming wreckage of missed tackles, blown coverages, complete lack. And it's not just bad, it's historically awful. We all know that. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen it time and time again with this team. Right? So, again, the question of tonight's live stream, of course, the title of this live stream, should the Carolina Panthers rebuild with Evero or a new defensive coordinator? The complete lack of fight for me is just that was the icing on the cake, right? And I said that before. And again, it's not just bad, it's historically awful. Again, we're talking about 496 points allowed this season and counting, right? With no signs of stopping. The season isn't just painful. It's a brutal reminder of this team's deeper systematic issues that this defense is just failing. It's actively making history the worst possible way. It's cementing its legacy as a low point in franchise history. It's a kind of futility that leaves us fans staring at our TVs in disbelief, wondering how it got this bad. The numbers alone are damning. It doesn't tell the whole story, in my opinion. It's the visible erosion of the confidence, the plowable lack of cohesiveness on the field, the seemingly absent sense of accountability that makes it so gut-wrenching to watch. Because here's the thing, this defense doesn't just need adjustments. It needs an exorcism to shake off the ghost of its own ineptitude. Because before this disaster comes to define the future of our entire franchise, and now the Panthers facing a defining moment, a crossroads, really this is a crossroads that could determine this team's trajectory for the next decade. The question is both urgent and essential. And again, the question is, should the Panthers rebuild around Evero or toss him out and start fresh with a new defensive coordinator? And obviously, you guys got a poll question up there. You can make that. Obviously, you can make that assumption for yourself. Right? You can make that assumption for yourself. Okay? You can say what you like. You can tell me what you think with the poll question, but also sound off in the chat. Because this decision will not be because it's about X's and O's or crunching numbers. It's about setting the tone for the team's identity, choosing a direction, and providing hope to a fan base teetering on the brink of total disillusionment. And the stakes are sky high and the clock is ticking. So let's dig in and dissect the options on the table, shall we? I think that another thing is you should grab a stiff drink. I think you're going to need it for this one because I would say you may want to brace yourself for a roller coaster of hard truths and tough choices that I'm going to tell you. So first things first. I'm going to see if I can pull up Mr. I'm trying to see if I can pull up something here. That's okay. It's okay. Evero is a guy that got his name, right? He got his name out there. And he's also, because of the Broncos, but he got his name out there as one of the top defense coordinators in the league because of what he was able to do in Denver and what he was able to do in LA or with the Rams. I think they were LA at the time still. But the guy, this is a guy that got sold a lemon. That's who Evero is. So let's get one thing straight about Jiro Evero. I don't think he's a bad coach. I think he's a respectable defensive-minded coach around the league. And he was a damn near got a head coaching job last offseason. But being a good coach doesn't make you a miracle worker right now. Evero, you got to think about it this way, ladies and gentlemen. Evero is trying to, let's say this. Evero is trying to sell you a Ferrari. But the problem is that Ferrari has a go-kart engine. Because look at what's been working with Derek Brown, gone on IR early. Shaq Thompson, also out. You got to think about it. This is what Evero's been working with. Shaq Thompson, also out. Your leader of the defense, the vocal leader. Brian Burns traded away for picks. I was okay with it. So I'm just naming it at this point because we have to. Frankie Luvu walked out the door to Washington. He's doing great in Washington, actually. Better than Brian Burns is. Evero's left with a defense that couldn't stop a nosebleed, let alone Baker Mayfield dropping 5 touchdown passes on them for shits and giggles. And don't get me even started on Caleb Farley getting torched by Mike Evans like it's a weekly tradition. If you're going to point fingers at Evero, I just want you to remember this. His 3-4 base scheme is not the problem. And I'm starting to realize this. The problem is the Panthers have no talent to execute it. It's like, think about it this way. And it took me some time to think about this, and I had to sit down and think before I came on here. And before I do any of my live streams, I always think about what I'm going to say before I say it. You got to think about it this way. And I was harsh on Evero this year. I was out on him. It's like giving a Michelin started chef a can of Spam, and you ask him to make magic with that Spam. You can blame Evero for not adjusting his scheme to the lack of personnel. Absolutely. There's only so much you can tweak when your linebackers can't fill their gaps or your secondary can't cover their own shadows. So at some point, we have to ask how much blame falls on the coach. How much of that blame falls on the front office? That you have to ask yourselves that. Okay? You have to ask yourselves that. So the front office for assembling this mess in the first place, how much do you blame on that? Them too. So here's a case, because I'm gonna plead my case on both sides for Evero. I'm gonna plead my case on why keeping Evero, and plead my case for moving on from Evero. My argument for keeping Evero is that stability matters. The guy has a proven track record of success. When he has even been even when he's had mediocre talent to work with, he's creative, he's innovative, and respected. He's been handing the football equivalent of a soggy cardboard box. So if you're going to rebuild this defense, which we're going to have to rebuild this defense, then why not do it with a coach who knows what he's doing? You already got Bryce Young. He's on a rookie deal. And that has to do with a lot of things about this rebuild, which means you have a short window to load up on talent and make a run before the cap crunch comes calling. Give Evero an actual NFL caliber players and see what happens. It's really not rocket science. But let's be clear. If you stick with Evero, you can't half-ass the rebuild. Because this defense that he runs, this complex 3-4 defense, needs a complete overhaul. You need new linebackers. You need new defensive linemen. Maybe even some new corners. You draft a guy like Mason Graham out of Michigan to anchor that defensive line if you're switching to a 4-3, or you grab a versatile edge like Abdul Carter if you're sticking with the 3-4. And for the love of God, do me a favor if you do keep him, spend some money in free agency. Josh Sweat's going to be a free agent this offseason. Dre Greenlaw is going to be a free agent this offseason. Good looking at those guys. You've got the cap space. Use it. People say, well, we don't have enough cap space. The fuck if you don't. The people need to realize that if you go look at the Saints for how many years when Drew Brees around, how many times did they manipulate the cap space? How many times have teams manipulated the cap space? Get it through your thick head. The cap space doesn't fucking matter. It really doesn't. Oh, but we only have $31 million. We only have $41 million. Shut the fuck up. The cap space can be, like, calm down. Like, the cap space can be manipulated. The Saints did it for years. God dang. They did it for years. Like, that's all I ever hear in my chat. It's like the cap space this. It can be manipulated. The cap space really doesn't matter. And honestly, what Brant Tillis has done is absolutely genius. He's eating all your dead cap this year. So you've got the cap space. Use it. Stability doesn't mean stagnate and keep Evero. Only makes sense if you're going to fully commit to giving him the tools he needs to succeed. That's the only way it makes sense to keep him. That is the only way it makes sense. Top 34. I'm just tired of hearing people in the chat talk about this cap space shit. Like, people don't, like, they act like it's not, like it's something that can't be, like, manipulated. It's manipulated in all sports. It's manipulated in basketball. It's manipulated in the NBA, or in baseball. It's manipulated in hockey. It's manipulated in all sports. Cap spaces in all pro sports is manipulated, and it can be. And the NFL has done it for years, and the Saints did it for years, but they did it to a point where it put them in cap purgatory. So you just have to be careful with it. All right. But here's the thing, again, if you're going to keep Evero, it only makes sense if you're fully committing to giving him the tools that he needs to succeed. Plain and simple. Okay. here's my point of moving on from it. And let's be brutally honest. Sometimes things just don't work out. Just like relationships. You date this girl, you think she's the love of your life, but guess what? She ends up being an absolute sloozy. She's on Tinder, talking to other guys. It don't work out. So what? Move on. Okay? Evero's scheme hasn't clicked in Carolina. Whether that's because of personal coaching or bad karma, it doesn't really matter. The bottom line is this defense has been historically bad. And if you think a fresh start is the only way to fix it, then pull the damn trigger. And when I say pull the damn trigger, and the cases I'm making for is if somehow this front office finds the Ropp Star report and they see this video. But maybe the Panthers need a defensive coordinator who's better suited to coach up raw talent. Maybe Evero's scheme just isn't a fit for this roster. If you're going to blow it all up anyways, why not bring in someone new to oversee the rebuild? You've got one shot to get this right. If you have even a shadow of a doubt about Evero, like I said in my short clip, then you have to make that call. Because you think about it this way, this team doesn't have time to half measure shit. You need someone who can hit the ground running and immediately start building a defense that actually can compete. Like, there's no room for wishful thinking when your franchise is in crisis mode. So that's my case to move on. Exactly, Kendall. Exactly. I'm very confident in Brant Tillis. Very confident in him. So the real problem here is that, and the harsh truth of the matter is none of this matters if the Panthers don't upgrade the talent on the field. Plain and simple, number one. You have to upgrade the talent, whether you keep Evero or even if you bring in a new guy. So the players that Evero is coaching right now wouldn't make the practice squad on some teams. Now, I even had a guy comment, I think it was on my YouTube channel, on this channel, and it was either that or it was on TikTok. I want to see if I can find it. Maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it was on TikTok. And he said this, which is wild to me. He said this. Let me see if I can find that comment. Yes. Where is it? Yes, this guy on TikTok said the Panthers have used a league-leading 87 practice squad players this year. And yesterday, we pulled our second and third string in on our defense. Just to let you know that, by the way. So, again, you can fire Evero. Whoops, I'm sharing YouTube. I thought it was on YouTube, but I was wrong. So you can either fire Evero, okay? And this is the way I look at it. You can either fire Evero or hire Evero's twin, or you replace him with Bill Belichick himself, right? Like a guy like that. Not necessarily Bill Belichick, but a guy like Bill Belichick, okay? And it wouldn't matter unless the team gets better players. It doesn't matter if you fire Evero or you hire his twin or you got a guy or you got Bill Belichick himself. That's what I'm saying. It would not matter unless this team gets better players. So it's time to stop screwing around and invest in this defense. Draft smart, spend smart, stop trading away your best players for a handful of magic beans, right? Prioritize talent acquisitions at every level. Build a defensive line that can dominate in the trenches. Find linebackers who can tackle in space, right? You know, that's what you have to do. And for heaven's sakes, fix the secondary so you don't have Caleb Farley becoming a weekly meme. And while you're at it, help Bryce Young out. He needs help too. Sure. I mean, even Bill Cowher came out and he was right about it. I was listening to Bill Cowher and he said that our defense should be priority number one. But let's not act like Young is set up for success with Adam Thielen and all these rookies. He still needs a number one option and some more depth on that offensive line. I think more depth in the trenches is huge. You get Chuba Hubbard back, but the run game without Chuba Hubbard is very suspect. Can Jonathan Brooks come back? I don't know. Is Jonathan Brooks going to come back next year? I doubt it. So maybe you have to draft a running back or you have to bring somebody else in here. But there's no run game to speak of without Chuba Hubbard at this point. And it was proven yesterday. You fix this defense. Don't forget the offense while you're at it. A team with a young quarterback needs balance, and neglecting the offense in pursuit of defensive fixes will only lead to more mediocrity. So again, it depends on how much faith you have in Evero going forward. It's talking about, and what I mean by that is in Evero's ability to develop your young talent and adapt. And again, either you stick with Evero, you believe the defensive issues are mainly due to the injuries and the lack of talent rather than his scheme. And his track record suggests he can be successful with the right personnel he needs and a significant roster upgrade. A rebuild under Evero keeps some stability and continuity, right? You move on if you think his scheme has been a poor fit for the current roster, or he hasn't maximized what little talent is available. And if the team plans to a total defensive overhaul, a new DC might make sense to align with the rebuild philosophy. So the bottom line here is, again, Evero isn't the biggest problem. But again, if there's even a doubt, like I said, I think the Panthers shouldn't hesitate to reset with someone who fits the long-term vision. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Plain and simple when it comes to Ejiro Evero. We, the organization that gives everybody a second chance on an NFL team. Goddamn. Facts, Rockstar. Why we know all this, but our organization's stuck on stupid. I don't know. Dumb. I don't know. Dumb Carolina Panthers organization. Goddamn. Leggett needs to step up as well. Yeah, he absolutely does. Whether his hand, and he's had hand issues coming out of South Carolina. It's interesting. That's been taking place. But I mean, again, man, like you have to think about it from the two different standpoints. That's the way I look at it. So you either keep him because, like I said, you either keep him because of the continuity and stability, right? And you do the rebuild under him. If he stays here, obviously, I don't even know if he wants to be here. Right? Or again, if you doubt keeping Evero around, then the Panthers, like I said, get a new DC that might make sense to align with the rebuild philosophy. And like I said, get someone who fits the long-term vision here. Zai, do I go at live every day? For the most part, I go live every day. But I'm also putting out other content, like a lot. I put out a lot of shorts, and then in my community chat, I'm very active as well. Do our Carolina Panthers know? Do our Carolina Panthers know our history? We've been the highest level twice and lowest level 3 times. Hello, Dom 34 speaking facts. I love it. Wonder why Canales is keeping the role of play caller. I guess to teach Brad Ezek, to I guess let Brad Ezek shadow him. That's really it. And then turn it over. I guess. Brad. Obviously, I'm assuming Brad Ezek hasn't had enough. Obviously, um, experience calling plays. Right. He's only been a wide receiver coach, and I think that's it. I think the highest level he reached was last year as a wide receivers coach in Tampa Bay. I'd have to look at Brad Ezek's background once again. I can't remember his background very well. Should we go all defense in the draft? No. I don't think we have to go all defense, but I definitely think the first 3 picks should be defense. At least the first 3 or first 2, at least. I think Carolina, if they're smart, they trade back. I think if Carolina's smart, they finally trade back and they get more draft capital. I think that's what they need to do. I'd rather toss a bigger net out there and hit on some guys or hit on some sleepers, than just try to get a Mason Graham or a Abdul Carter and you get one elite guy and the rest of the guys could, they could be scrubs. They could end up being scrubs. But I feel more comfortable casting a broader net. It's when it comes to the draft, it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Because you could be damned if you don't pick Abdul Carter or Mason Graham, and then you trade back and you miss out on one of those guys, and then the net that you casted out, you really don't really hit on anybody. But you're damned if you do. I don't know. It's a tough situation when it's again, the draft is a risk every time you draft. Every pick is a risk. The potential's there. You can give your draft analysis on these guys. I can give you guys my draft analysis on every guy that I do a draft analysis on, but that doesn't mean that he's going to end up being that, right? Hashtag cover Kelsey. We can give Falcons cake shot, Big Clay. I'm not sure what that means, but okay. Facts. Is the Arizona war good enough for hashtag cover Kelsey? I have no idea what you're asking or what you're saying. I'm sorry. We need at least one wide receiver in the draft. Let's go defense. Jarius, again, I mean, K equals kill. We don't need to. We can give Falcons. I don't know about all that. I kind of figured that, Mad Chatter. I kind of figured it was you. You change your name every time you come into my stream, I swear. Like I said, man, when we were talking about Evero, though, for some of you guys that missed, there's you either believe in him and you believe that the injuries and the lack of talent on this team is the reason why we are, or you feel that the new DC and getting someone for the long term that better fits the long term vision here. It's plain and simple as that. Ropp started the CMC trade. We could have gotten Marvin Harrison Jr. during that time, and Drake May with no trade for him. It's crazy to think about Dom 34. There's a lot of there's a lot of scenarios out there that if we wouldn't have done a lot of things, that we could have gotten a lot of different gotten a lot of guys. So, do you feel like the Bryce is the guy? That's a good question. That's a good question. I'll say this. I like the progress that I'm seeing. I am just not going to put all my eggs in one basket, if that makes sense. I'm going to hold off. I got a couple eggs in that basket, right, Zai? But I don't have them all in there yet. So, I like the progress I'm seeing. He's definitely gotten better. He's definitely gotten sharper. He's starting to beat blitzes more, which I'm liking to see. But I just don't know if he's that guy yet. I can't say it confidently and be like, man, he's that guy. I just can't. I can't do it. I can't say confidently he's that guy. I can't say it confidently. I think we're on the right track with him. But I cannot say he's that guy. I still think we got a ways to go. And maybe this offseason will give him a chance to improve, and then we can improve this team and help him out and, see what next year brings. I'm not big on XL anymore. This whole thing about him using a fake accent has me a little sour on him. Jarius Bear, a bar ringer. That is not a fake accent. I don't know who told you that. But I doubt he's using a fake accent. I've heard that guy talk for multiple times. I've actually met Xavier Legette. If that's a fake accent, he's a really good faker. I don't think it's fake. The guy's from Marion, South Carolina. That's 45 minutes down the road from where I live. I know people from Marion. They all sound like that. Oh, I don't know who told you that's a fake accent, but they lied to you. We have a lot of D needs for sure. Will Howard, the Ohio State, or Kyle McCord for me? Interesting. I would say neither for me. I'm going to say neither for me. I don't want any quarterbacks in this draft. I really don't. I do not like anybody in this draft. The only person I might take a chance on in this draft is Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. But that's just to bring some competition in for Bryce. I really don't like anybody. I mean, unless somehow you could get Shador or Cam Ward somehow in the and you got lucky. But we need to get a backup. I mean, I would look into getting a Drew Lock to come here or a Sam to bring in some competition at Bryce. Justin Fields, another guy I would take a chance on to bring some competition in for Bryce. But Bryce, as of right now, Bryce is our guy. They want to bring in a veteran to back him up, sure. I think that at some point, I think Carolina might make Dalton their QB coach. Could be, they could. It would be interesting to see. Glad Young is improving, but hell no. Upgrade from Dalton. I think an upgrade from Dalton would be good. Bryce might be our future head coach of the Carolina Panthers organization. I don't know about all that. Don 34. That's going a little bit too far. Stick with Bryce Young in 2025. Spend a bag on a wide receiver. Defensive help. Draft best player available. We'll still have to think rebuild versus plug. Maybe like we've been doing. They're gonna stick with Bryce no matter what. Sending a bag on a wide receiver. Who you sending a bag to? Obviously, a lot of names have been thrown around out there. I mean, I would love to go after a Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins. Maybe if we can get DJ Moore, that would be one of the funniest things ever to get DJ Moore back, or DK Metcalf is a great player out of Seattle, because, I can make a case for all 4 of those guys to come here. I would love that. As for DC, would you be hiring Riverboat Ron as a DC if he wants the job? I think I would. I don't know. That would be tough for me to say, final boss. That would be tough to. He would go back to the 4-3 defense, though. That's the only thing I can say positive about that. I've just never been a fan of the 3-4. Rob Star, we need a backup if anything. Absolutely. Yep, Bryce is going to be here. No quarterbacks in the draft, but free agency upgrade. Dalton. Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it. That's for sure. I would love to keep Dalton on the team for a mentorship. He obviously can be a good mentor, because everybody brags about him as a mentor / QB coach. So maybe he could become like another Josh McCown, except better. Because obviously Josh McCown didn't do us any favors coming here. I would love to, but Luther Burden, but we have to draft defense in the first. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Luther Burden, it will be gone. We will definitely be drafting a defensive player in the first round, I think. I think Fields is the guy. Could be. You never know. Crazier things have happened in the NFL, my friend. Remember the Ropp Star. Milrose was back up to Bryce, Alabama. You're talking about Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is about as accurate as a shotgun. It just the ball just spreads out everywhere. Just it doesn't go where it needs to be. Maybe a shotgun's the worst example, but the guy can't hit the broadside of the barn. If I'm Jalen Milroe, which he hasn't announced that he's going to go in the draft yet, if I'm Jalen Milroe, I would try to stay another year. I think he would he would make his draft stock go so much higher if he stayed another year at Alabama. He'd be a first-round pick, I think, if he'd stay another year. I think that's the smartest thing for him. A'Shawn Robinson's fine. I'm cool with A'Shawn. I'll take Fields if Steelers don't re-sign him. I don't know if the Steelers will. I don't know what their plan is to do with him right now. It's interesting to me that he went 4-2 and then they got him out of there and started Russell Wilson. So that's interesting to me. I'll bring DJ Moore back. Oh, will you? I would love for you to do that. A nice Shaq Thompson upgrade in a second good corner. I think Mike Jackson is serviceable, but yeah, I mean, I would not be opposed. I think getting a guy in the draft would not hurt. Matt Chatter, and definitely an upgraded linebacker to support you, especially if Shaq Thompson goes down. And Trevor Wallace got hurt a couple times this year. I don't think he got hurt a couple times, but I know he had a season-ending injury, so I don't think it would hurt to add some more linebacker depth. And especially Joseph Jewell was out for like 3 weeks too, so definitely some depth in the linebacker room is needed for sure. Then we might have to double up on linebacker in the draft. DK Metcalf, we could have drafted him. Yep, we could have. Yep, for sure. Higgins coming here, he here would be good for Bryce. Again, I would not be mad if T. Higgins came here. I can just tell you that. What's up? What's up, T. Green? Appreciate you joining, man. Welcome in. I think Evero get us back to top 3 next year once we get all our good players back. Again, T Green, I know I don't know if you just got in, but I was telling everyone, and I actually broke it down. We were looking at all the defensive rankings, and basically this is what I said. You can make the verdict. Here's your verdict to the reason why you want to stick with Evero. And I said this: if you either believe that the defensive issues are mainly due to injuries and a lack of talent rather than his scheme. Right. We already know that his track record suggests he can succeed with the right personnel, but he needs a significant roster upgrade. And we know that as well. So a rebuild under Evero keeps some stability and continuity, right? On the other side of it, for the verdict of moving on from Evero, you think his scheme has been a poor fit for the current roster, or he hasn't maximized what little talent is available. So if the team plans a little defensive overhaul, a new DC might make sense to align with the new rebuild philosophy. So I think, if Evero, the bottom line is that even for this whole thing, is Evero isn't the biggest problem. But if there's even a doubt, like I said, if there's a shadow of the doubt that the Carolina Panthers don't trust Evero moving forward, then the Panthers shouldn't hesitate to reset with someone who fits the long-term vision. And that's what I said. And that's what I said, T Green, basically. That's a short version. There's also a short version out there on my channel. So if you guys wanted to watch the shorter version of this, there's a short version already out on the channel. Fields is not coming here because that would remind Tepper he could have drafted him instead of trading a bunch of picks for Sam. Yeah, well, but who's the final boss? Who's to say that he's not coming here? I mean, Tepper's move is in the background now. He is taking a major step back. So who's to say that can't happen now? I think with the way the Tepper has moved himself out and moved him away from the team, I think says a lot about him as an owner. So I could still see Justin Fields coming here. I don't think it's out the question. Garrett Wilson, question mark. Yeah, I would love to get Garrett Wilson. Obviously he seems like he's not interested in sticking around with New York, if Aaron Rodgers is still there. So, I mean, the door's open. I mean, the Panthers could burst through it and get him. I think Wilson is a rare talent in the NFL. He's definitely number one on my list to get here as a wide receiver. He's been begging for a strong quarterback play ever since he's been drafted. Not saying that Bryce Young is stronger, but the way has Aaron Rodgers really been that bad? I don't know. I mean, who would have guessed that Bryce Young would be that when Rodgers wasn't? You know what I mean? Like, I don't. Either way, Wilson's young. I would say yes. I think he'd be a perfect fit for Bryce Young in the company window. He would be a true number one wide receiver for us. We got to understand he has to play the cards he was dealt, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, listen, I was hard on Evero at first because of the lack of adjustments. Again, I always allude to that Atlanta Falcons game where I saw Trevor Wallace going one-on-one with Drake London. The lack of adjustments. That's where I was like, I might be out on this guy. I might be out on a Evero. Because I was just like, and then we continued to see JC Horn on one side of the field, and that's where it was just frustrating for me. But at the same time, I didn't account the talent that we did have. But I've also been a big believer that what makes you what separates you from the average Joes to the guys who are elite coaches or coordinators, what separates you from those guys is that you're able to make the right adjustments and work with the talent that you do have and make things happen. So that's the way I look at it from that as well. So you can make as many cases as you want. I just think at the end of the day, you either stick with Evero because of the stability and continuity and let him rebuild this team around him, or you go get a guy and a fresh face that fits the vision here. the next vision or the new vision, whatever that is, the long-term vision, right? I would like to see Luke as assistant DC. I agree with that. I would love to see Luke be a coach, but I don't know if he'll ever get into coaching. Who knows? Maybe down the line, but we'll see. Don't forget Evero didn't knew Chin was a linebacker and kept playing him at safety. Well, Chin is more of a hybrid guy. You could play him at linebacker or a safety, but final boss, I'll tell this, go look it up. Jeremy Chin's best season was as a safety. But Chin can be a hybrid type of guy. He can be a Justin Simmons. But I think he's a better version of Justin Simmons, in my opinion. But at first, I want to get rid of Evero, but you made a convincing case on why we might keep him another season. And again, they might not underground West. I think that's going to be up to Evero and the front office. The front office might say, hey, we want to keep you for another year. We want to rebuild this defense around you. Or Evero might be like, nah, I'm out. Go. I'm going to go somewhere else. And he more than well can. Or, he might want to stay and Carolina might not want him here. There's also that, so it will come down. We will obviously hear more about this throughout the offseason. We'll see what happens. Wilson could be great, but I see the Jets letting AR go and hold on to him at this point. But if we could pair some late picks for him and go for it. Yeah, that, I think Amari Cooper is another honorable mention for me in that category. Obviously, T. Higgins, but apparently T. Higgins came out and said today that he would love to stay with the Bengals and play for cheaper money. That's what they said. So, yeah. That's what was told on Twitter today. So, and then again, I've also said DJ Moore. What a funny thing that would be to get him back. DK Metcalf would be excellent fit. Thrives in the deep ball. So, again. Zai comes in and says, what round would you get a wide receiver in? Probably the third or the fourth. I would look in the third and fourth round. I've seen guys like Lacey out of LSU fall there. I've seen some other guys fall there as well. I would say third or fourth round. So we'll see. It's a decent wide receiver class this year. It's not bad. It's talented. It's not very deep, in my opinion, compared to last year and a couple other draft classes. I want to know what's the scheme Canales keeps talking about. I mean, it can't be working with a record of 4-12. Do you think he should get players to fit the scheme or switch to a different scheme? Well, he runs a wide zone scheme. So I've explained it on my channel before, T Green. So what a wide zone scheme is it's the foundation of a wide zone scheme, T Green, is that it's known as an outside zone scheme. So basically what that means is it's a run-based offense, right? Which that means that it emphasizes on lateral movement by your offensive line and precise timing by the running backs. Now, the main objective for this wide zone scheme that he runs is to stretch the defense horizontally, creating cutback lanes for the running back. Now, the problem that I have with this is that we aren't running the ball enough. Right? We've seen him. I feel like we've seen him pass more. So, And there's different ways that the pass game works, right? The I think that's the reason, like, because here's the thing, the offensive line is different. It's a zone blocking scheme for the wide zone. That's what it is. It's a zone blocking scheme. That's why it's called a wide zone scheme. So what that means is the offensive line's primarily responsibility is to move laterally, often towards the sideline, which that means that this lateral movement forces defense to react to and move sideways, potentially creating gaps. Each lineman, and basically what that means is that you need athletic linemen for this scheme, which requires athletic offensive linemen who can move quickly and maintain those blocks. Okay. That's why we saw Chuba Hubbard have a great year this year, is because running backs in the wide zone scheme need to be patient and have excellent vision. And he was doing that all year. And there's 3 R's, the wide zone scheme, that I think that I heard Dave Canales talk about. It's called read, react, run. Right. But there's a lot of play action passing in the wide zone scheme, which I felt like we didn't see enough. But that's what he so-called runs, is a wide zone scheme. So I think, Canales will probably likely employ a mix of personnel packages to keep defensive guessing next year. The wide zone scheme is adaptable. I think Canales can make adjustments, though, for sure, which what you're talking about, based on the strengths of his players. And that he needs to also do that to the weaknesses of the defenses he's going up against. So I'd like for him to incorporate some more inside zones, probably some RPOs next year. I'd love to see some more rollouts and some play action passing from Bryce. I want to see him implement more of that next year. But other than that, in a nutshell, that's what it is. What's the defensive coordinator for? You're talking about Brian Flores. Terrence Tate, Brian Flores. Guy's an absolute dog. I love Brian Flores. He was one of my head coaching candidates before we got Dave Canales. I don't know if I had him on my coaching board, but if I can remember correctly, but now what I'm seeing him do in Minnesota, if Dave Canales don't work out and Flores is still looking for a head coaching job, calling that guy up. I am calling that guy up. I'd love for him to become our defense coordinator right now, the way Minnesota's looking. I doubt DJ Moore want to come back here since Burns, Chin, Samuel gone. He probably wants to go to the Commanders where they're at. I mean, T Green, you never know. I mean, DJ Moore wants to be somewhere where the thing is DJ Moore wants to be where he's got a competent quarterback. No offense, Caleb Williams is no competent quarterback. He's just not. Is Bryce any better right now? I don't know. I mean, you can make the case that Caleb Williams isn't better than Bryce Young. You can make the case that Bryce Young is better than Caleb Williams. There's a lot. I mean, everybody's going to argue their point. It's bipolar. NFL is a bipolar world, man. T Green says, thanks, Clay. No problem, man. The Brooks pick was a disaster. It's starting to look like that, Matt Chatter. We'll see. I don't think we'll see him next year. I hope he bounces back from this injury, but when guys tear their ACL twice in the same knee, it's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. I think Brooks faked an injury just to be safe for the next year. I don't see it, T Green. Not if you tore your same ACL. It would be different if he faked an injury that was like small that would keep him out to the year, like at least from that time span, right? But to say that he faked an injury and he tore his ACL in the same knee, you can't fake that. You can't fake that. Nah, he won't come to Carolina. Who are you? He's talking about Brian. You're talking about Brian Flores. I mean, I don't know why you say that. I mean, how do you know he wouldn't come to Carolina? What case do you have that proves that Brian Flores would never come to Carolina? Well, you can stand on an ACL. He's just probably got. I mean, he's got it wrapped up probably. I mean, you can stand up on it, man. It's not like it's a broken leg. It's it's different. It's a ligament. You can still stand on it. I mean, again, I just don't see it. So, I you can still stand on it. It's not like it's a broken leg. It's a ligament. He's already had surgery on it, if I'm not mistaken already. So, again, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Oh, what's good, Eric? What's good? Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on new content. Okay. To make sure you don't miss out on new content. I'm going to come out with some new content for you guys throughout the week. And obviously, I won't be live tomorrow. I'm going to be enjoying my New Year's with some friends and family. So, again, you guys have a happy new year. Okay. Have a happy new year. And I'll see you in 2025. All right. So I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. And as always, guys, keep pounding. Peace.